Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the CEO panel. Thanks for all of you that stuck around and didn't take the early flights out or anything like that. Hopefully I've got the easy job here as a moderator. Tough to follow Daryl and that act, but hopefully we can have some good conversations similar to Jack and Rich yesterday. And that was certainly a good conversation, but I'll let everybody do a quick intro and then we'll get things teed up here. Kadir, you want to start for us?
Sure. I'm Kadir Khan, been in the retail industry for almost 25 years. Good to see some familiar faces. I'm with Competitive Power Venture Retail, which is an affiliate of CPV. We serve commercial and industrial, load only. A lot of discussion today here about residential and small commercial. So I'm on the C&I side. Just a little bit about CPV Retail and myself. Know a lot of you folks already.
Scott Hart, NRG. I run the C&I business for NRG, and that includes our power, natural gas, and DR business. We've got kind of a foothold in all three of the major customer-facing C&I products and services. This is year 35 in the energy business. Started in '88, right at the beginning of gas deregulation, and that ultimately, we got into power. So there's a lot of history there. Daryl and I both were back at TXU back in the day, and I was at the gas company that bought us, and it's kind of how McKinsey told us to do everything back in the day. So, which is interesting because they're still telling us what to do. So it's great to be here. I know that most of the people are out there waiting on the bar, so they might need to get that message out that it doesn't open until we get done talking. Yeah, and I think this is a great panel. By the way, this conversation today, I wasn't here yesterday, but the conversations today were really good. And I do think that the industry is at an inflection point where a lot of new thinking about what needs to happen, because honestly, business rules, processes, technology has not dramatically changed since really the early 2000s when we deregulated power. So good opportunity. And I think it's a great place for young people too. That conversation, the last one, was very interesting. It's a cool time to be in this, but it is crazy, it's scary. There's a lot of opportunity and there's a lot of downsides. So the next 10 years, and it's really the next 5 years, is going to be fascinating to see how it plays out. And then good luck to the rest of you after that.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Joe Tabling. I'm the CEO of EG Energy Insight. We're a consulting and management consulting and brokerage firm. Been in the industry for 15 years, mainly focused in the PGM territory, but have worked nationwide. Residential, small, mid-size commercials, nonprofits, municipalities, basically anybody who gets a utility bill.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Andrew Singer with Constellation. I'm responsible for our regional C&I business across the U.S. It's nice to see everybody.
Hi, everyone. Mike Osowski, currently CEO of Eligo Energy. I've been in the industry since '97, I think. Green Mountain Energy, when they were first starting, heading up various positions at Spark, Waste Energy, which I owned. Been in the industry with these small to mid-size retailers for a long time now, so I look forward to talking to you today. Thank you.
All right, thanks everyone. So I'm Jonathan Kleitz, I'm a partner with CAPCO. I lead our retail and wholesale energy practice. Been with CAPCO for 21 years. We do business and technology consulting and work with a lot of the companies in this room as system integrators, as partners for them. So obviously we talked a lot about the change that's going on, and Scott already started to hit on some of that just during his intro. This is an industry that's been stagnant for quite a long time. But I want to get the perspective from these leaders in three areas. So first is the changing market dynamics. We've already talked about that quite a bit in the last few days. New products, sales strategies, things like that. And then the last area will be around changing customer expectations. So to come back to the first one and sort of set it up here, obviously the generation mix is shifting fast. There's 63 gigawatts, according to the EIA, of new utility scale capacity coming on this year in 2025. Most of that is solar and batteries. We've got projects stuck in interconnection queues for many years. We've got questions around reliability, around future costs. We've obviously got the conundrum around AI data centers that was talked about yesterday, or earlier today, sorry, quite a bit as well. That's certainly a problem that I don't think most of us, even saw just 5 or 10 years ago as potential. So I think it's fair to ask, and Scott, I'll start with you on this one. With the interconnection queues delaying supply side projects for years in many cases, what are the regulatory and market reforms that can help accelerate deployment and help the grid reliability?
Yeah, it's a loaded question. So I think the federal government really is the key stakeholder to drive alignment. And when I was talking about that before, there's kind of 4 big groups that, at least in my mind, I've put together as the key stakeholders. Supply side is the critical element to keep prices and reliability cost effective for the existing grid consumers. And without that, and they're already being exposed to cross-subsidization, whether it's direct or indirect by what prices are going on. Reliability has been an issue, specifically over the past, 7 or 8 years, and we're going to see more of that. So getting more generation online, whatever flavor you like or don't like, more of everything is going to be necessary to meet the kind of demand, while at the same time keeping the existing grid customers with a cost-effective, reliable product. So I guess DOE directing FERC to basically override the states. Now that's going to be interesting how that actually plays out. There's a lot of probably lawsuits and other things that'll happen. And it is complex to add both supply and demand to a grid. The modern grid is the largest machine in the world. All these lights depend on our frequency to be maintained within a very tight tolerance. So it is the most essential service, I would argue, and society freaks out without power. So whether it's a minute, a day, a week, doesn't matter. Like, modern society has to have electricity. And so the goals of federal policy, state policies, the obligations that they have to existing customers and to modern society to have electricity, that is a complex situation, and I think it is the big defining situation around how we can have an AI economy, at the same time have cost-effective, reliable electricity for existing customers. And that tension between all those, and then of course big tech with trillions of dollars in investment, massive influence. I guess if you build a ballroom over there, you get to kind of call the shots. So don't underestimate the amount of influence that big tech has over how all this is going to play out. And so it's fascinating. At NRG, we've really taken the approach to stay customer-centered. We'll get our fair share of whatever this large load data center thing looks like ultimately. There's certainly a lot of expectations for companies like NRG we're a gentailer, right? We own generation, we have retail positions. Constellation, gentailer. Vistra, gentailer. And so you kind of got these 3 big companies, and then there's a lot of other companies represented up here as well that are going to influence that outcome. But I think staying customer-centered is the key to keeping the right approach to solving and enabling, an AI economy. And I think that's the ultimate goal. I'm not sure I answered your question, but I think it's the feds stepping in with, a really quasi-Manhattan Project type mindset that we have to do this as a society and as an economy.
Anybody want to add to that?
I think I'll add to, I agree with a lot of things Scott said. We're a gentailer too at a smaller level, but I think I always want to think about customer, especially in the retail world. This is something that's basic for this ecosystem, that we have been part of it, or at least I've been part of it for 24 years. it's a low margin business, and we have a lot of these obstacles that are coming our way. Either it's AI revolution, or it's demand, or if it's capacity. We have to think about these customers, how we can help them. We'll talk about systems in a bit, but I think we are lagging. What I've heard over the day or so, we are just not keeping up with where the AI technology is, or where the technology is going. The retail ecosystem is absolutely lagging behind. That's my personal opinion as a president of a retail company, and looking at a low margin business, I just can't believe that we are in 2025 and we're still dealing with some of these very old 2010 even systems that we are talking about. So I'm going to lay it there.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to talk about that in a minute. All right, Michael, next question's for you. As the markets for deregulation are limited, what do you see as the right path for growth right now, for a supplier, specifically for residential customers?
All right, I'll start off by saying I had some notes that what I was going to talk about, but coming to this conference, especially today, and seeing some of the topics and the people and their responses, I'm suddenly encouraged that actually the future of deregulation is actually bright. And let me tell you why. Because we're coming up on 3 decades now. The first 2 decades, it was real easy to be a marketer. Even a bad operator can make money in this industry. And all you had to do was go out, hire a call center, door to door, and you could actually save customers money because your acquisition cost is $50 to $70. You make that money back, you provide value to the customer, everything's good. Over time, market got crowded, the cost of goods changed. We could no longer provide the same savings to that customer and provide and afford the overhead of the acquisition cost. The market started falling apart. No wonder the regulators didn't like us. No wonder new markets weren't opening up. So we hit this kind of stall. And there's still those dinosaurs out there that are still harvesting those books. The owners now that started with the right concept when they were 30, they're now 60. They're harvesting this cash cow. And it takes a lot of courage to reinvest what you have and the money that's coming in to invest in the technologies to provide customers money again, to provide them savings. And I believe the only ways to really provide those savings are through the technologies that we heard about today in the Innovators panel, through demand response, through load shifting, through technology. But it takes a courage to reinvest those assets, to go to your board, to go to the owners of the company and say, I know that you're making $5 million a year, $10 million a year, whatever it is. We need to put that at risk and go and invest in starting over to do this the right way, because the cost of goods and your acquisition cost no longer make sense. And I hear these companies that are doing this. This is why I came back to Eligo, because the owners are listening to this is what we need to do to not be a dinosaur anymore. And for the young people, for the last panel on the millennials, if you're still working for one of those dinosaurs and the leadership did not have the courage to go and reinvest in those, ask yourself, is this a job or is this a career? And if it's a career, find a new company. Because that company, the dinosaur, they're looking for an exit plan. They're looking for a way out because they have a depreciating asset. And go find a company that's doing something to grow and to be here 20 years from now and that you can be proud of. So our company is doing some of those things. We'll talk about those in the future questions, but I'm suddenly very encouraged by what I'm seeing in the future of deregulation again.
Thanks, Michael. So Andrew, your next question's for you, sort of as a segue. That was about deregulated markets. What about the regulated monopoly markets? Is there anything that you're doing there, or that you think that suppliers should be focused on those markets or opportunities?
So in regulated markets, the question has always been, how do you take the innovation from competitive markets and bring it into non-competitive markets? So the beauty of one of the things that we've done over the years is when we got into the gas business, that opened up the rest of the country. So we had the markets that were competitive for electricity, but those are only a few markets, a few ISOs, and it got smaller, got bigger, got smaller, etc. But gas seemed to maintain itself. So what we've seen is the ability to serve somebody gas in a market also gives you access to their energy bill. In some cases, customers are interested in buying some sort of sustainable product. So that's the first thing to take a look at. The second thing has been mentioned here and throughout the day, the idea of demand-side management, doing something with AI, something that involves lowering your usage at given times, moving to a time of use tariff, even though it's a regulated situation, and then managing that. So we also have many clients that have crossovers from competitive markets into non-competitive markets, and they want to basically risk manage across all markets. So it's our job to try to implement that strategy across all those markets. That's where we've seen the most success. We've also encouraged clients to set up national budgets, so that if you're stuck with a budget and you look at it year over year on a 5-year plan, you have an idea of what's happening with capacity costs in competitive markets and what might be coming down the road from a regulatory perspective in non-competitive markets with regard to tariffs, increases, what's sitting on the docket, etc. You can actually set up a fairly logical budget for people, and when customers are trained to stay to budget, they then don't necessarily have the same differentiation between markets that are competitive or not, monopoly or not, regulated, deregulated. It's a matter of looking at risk management, looking at money, and looking at what tools are available to you in what markets, and then showing them that picture in a comprehensive way so they can understand what they're doing.
All right, Scott, going back to you. So how can energy providers adapt their commercial models to serve both the sort of traditional customers that we've had around for quite a long time and the emerging AI ecosystem? How can we balance those two?
At least right now, we've really kept our existing team against the existing grid customer apparatus. For the large load opportunities, specifically around AI type data center, your 500 to gigawatt type sites, we set up a whole new team, heavy structuring, wholesale origination, but the deals are actually manifesting themselves as retail. And co-location of generation, whether it's existing or new generation, there's just a lot of complexity around structuring those deals that are typically about 20 years. The one that we've actually announced is at an existing power plant that we own in Houston. And Houston is not a #1 site for data centers, especially AI data centers, for a variety of reasons. But this specific company had an interesting application, and it turned into a 20-year PPA, but it's really a retail structure. So that team is very focused on those engagements with the large load. There's also just the element of data centers that'll be grid served, whether they're cloud or AI enabled, and so we're working through those strategies. Clearly demand response, VPP, things like that will be a necessity as a compliance for these types of loads to come in. They're having to sign up for a level of curtailment, at least on the SB6 side. In other markets, we think similar type of regulatory constructs will be there to ensure that they don't overburden the existing grid customers with more scarcity, higher prices, capacity prices of PJM, obviously through the roof. So all those things, we've just decided that let's keep what we have against our existing, let's build a new team that's hyper-focused on understanding what's happening with these data centers. And by the way, that changes from the expectations 2 years ago, the realities of how much new generation or generation will be available for these data centers, whether it comes from the grid, it comes from a large-scale power plant, it comes from bridge power, which is a very topical thing right now. Things that we just would not have imagined are now coming to fruition. I think the big tech guys are coming to the reality of how complex our industry is and how regulated we really are. And that, the idea that they can just bully their way through it is going to get you a little bit, but it's not going to get you, tens of gigs. It'll get you a gig here and there, but it's not going to get you where you need to be. So, to me, the long pole in the tent of all this is the power industry. And there are physical constraints around how much, electricity we can add to the grid over the next 5 to 10 years. But yeah, that's kind of the business model right now, and it evolves. We talk about it consistently. The guy who runs the large load sits right next to me, and we're constantly talking about, you know, deals that are coming in weekly, if not daily meetings about what's happening there.
Yeah. All right, last question, Joe, for you on this topic area. So, how are brokers being impacted by, you know, all of these change dynamics? How are you changing how you're helping your end clients and customers as, you know, these market dynamics change?
Well, what we're doing and what every broker needs to do is explain to the clients that the volatility in the market isn't scary, it's an opportunity. And we need to utilize that opportunity to help that customer understand what has happened in the past, utilizing the historical data, looking at the geopolitical conditions, looking at the marketing curves, and help the customer understand the strategies and utilizing those strategies to put the customer ahead of the pricing curve. It's our job to explain to the client more than just the price itself, but how do we get there and what are our options and what are our strategies that's going to best suit them.
Thanks, Joe. All right, now we'll get to what Kadir wanted to talk about here. We'll move on to some on the new products, sales strategies, and things like that. So, you know, it's not just rooftop solar anymore. You know, community solar's growing 35% year on year. We've got, you know, new products for renters, small business. You know, we've got markets like Andrew was just talking about that were typically, you know, off limits. But at the same time, we've got new technology, AI, automation, things like that available to suppliers that enable you to deliver new products, have new market offerings, things like that. But it certainly hasn't been taken up at the rate that you would expect. You know, the same systems that were in place in 2010 are still there in many of our customers and probably many of the suppliers who are here in the room today. So I think the question is, you know, how do you implement that? How do you allow it to scale and increase profit? How do you get past just being pilot programs and the status quo of your current systems? So Kadir, I will start with you. You know, given the scale of change of technology, not just in this industry, but specifically here as well, you know, why hasn't that been taken up? How should suppliers be thinking about it? You know, where do you see things going?
So, I got to go back a little bit just to give people context. You know, many years ago, as a retailer, if you wanted to serve a customer, one customer, you have to set up 8 different systems. 8 different systems. I can name them. It's CRM, it's pricing, it's EDI, it's forecasting, and I can keep going. So, as the time flows, we, in this ecosystem, saw some changes coming with tools, but not to the speed that we were expecting it to be, because the top line never improved for us. The way I looked at it was the margin on the top for a retailer didn't really improve, but the costs kind of kept going up. If you look at the curve, it was just it was pretty volatile. Again, starting with 8 different systems. So, in the last few years, I have started to see a little change. 10 years ago, if I wanted to set up a retail entity, I would go talk to one system vendor for billing, and I'll say, hey, can we integrate into our CRM, into yours? And they'll say, okay, great, we'll do it. It'll cost you X dollars. At the end of the day, it all turns into dollars per megawatt hour as a cost for me. But what I've seen in the last few years, some of these vendors have started to package it. They are coming together. I've seen pricing with the EDI or billing together come up with a package. So it's definitely reducing some of our OpEx costs, but it's still not there. I had talked to many vendors last year, And I was trying to explain to them, because I was trying to see what's the best system that I can use for my retail entity, and it was still the same. So for me, where the technology is going with this AI revolution, the retail system, ecosystem, is just slow to respond. We have some people, I was amazed with one of the graphs I saw this morning, where somebody showed in Texas the capacity for a residential customer going 50% lower. And I didn't ask the question, but I asked the question right now. I don't even know if ERCOT's settling on that. So we don't even know if we can show that saving to that customer. This is how much we are lagging in retail system. In 2025, I cannot believe it, as a president of a retail, Jen Taylor, I'm sitting here, and my colleagues, I don't know if they disagree or agree with me, it's been a tough business to manage, but we can always do it. I've done some things to reduce my OPEX cost. I've come up with a system that has given me some reduction, but we need to, as software vendors in this room, as stakeholders in this room, we can do two ways. We can go our way and spend millions of dollars on putting our own system together, or we can work with these vendors where they have so much tools. So I'm thinking a little bit, it's a very passionate topic for me, because I have to manage this. I have to manage my investors, I have to manage my customers, I have to give them the service, I have to take care of the brokers, and all these things require systems. We don't want to do this in 2010 spreadsheet world. That's where I'm at. So hopefully somebody in this room can hear me out and start thinking about what is, hyperscalers. When they spend trillions of dollars, they come in and they change the whole industry. Can we do that? As collectively, can we think about that?
There's something that's missing here. I would agree with what you're saying, but so let's get a little dopamine going here. Everybody look up just for a second. Go off the screen. I'm talking to myself, come on. With that said, what other industry do you need to engage your competitor in order to do your business? I can't get everything I need to send a bill without engaging with a utility in a given region. Is that right, Dr. Spilkey? I'm engaging my inner Richard. With that said, what other industry is there? So I understand what's being asked here, but the stakeholder we're looking for isn't in this room. Does anybody here work for a utility? So to not get myself in trouble, this is all my personal comment. With that said though, our industry is very interesting. Because depending on what you're doing, if you're a retailer, you must engage with the utility. If utilities somehow can't get their data out for, let's say, a year, who's holding the bag? So where we left it last year was imploring people to engage their legislatures on a state level, to get people involved. How many people went and got involved? Excellent. I'm sure everybody's been busy texting their legislatures and their PUCs and everybody else. That's where the issue is for a lot of these things. We can AI ourselves from today until tomorrow, but there's no incentive necessarily for the utilities to AI themselves, and if they do, then the tariffs go up anyway because of set returns, etc. So there is a bit of a, I don't even know if I can call it a catch-22. There is a thing in this system that works against certain things. There is competition, but there's always that little pullback that's there. Everybody must be aware of that, whether either building or within this business. I don't know what the answer is completely. I've been blessed to work for a company for almost 30 years that keeps figuring it out. But as was said before, if you're not lowering your costs and getting smarter and faster, that little tail that's pulling back is going to continue to pull you right back in. Because nobody has to change the way that they're giving you EI data. Nobody has to do anything if the Public Utility Commission in a given market doesn't tell them to. So that's something to always keep in mind. We can get as modern as we want, But if the utility in the area that you're working in still looks like what Thomas Edison was working for, you can't do nothing about it.
Scott, I saw you shaking your head a lot. Anything you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, they're the most disinterested party in this whole process, right? Whether they change their meter numbers or their read cycles or don't get us meter data in time, whether it's the price or bill. Yeah, I mean, that's probably the key element in significant digital and agentic transformation is solving that HU problem. And then to some extent, even the transactional, relationship with them. I deal with 159 utilities across 38 states. So it's very magnified inside the organization, and it takes a lot of cost and time and effort to keep all that up, whether it's regulatory or just the operation of being connected to those utilities. Some markets are more digital, or one market is more digital than others. So we've, done some creative workarounds in the context of the last 25 years, but in general, days to bill shouldn't be 7 to 9 days. It shouldn't take us that long from the time we receive or supposed to receive our HU to get a bill out. And that just, makes the industry that much more capital intensive. You're looking at AR that's sitting out there. By the time we've paid everyone on the wholesale side, the TDUs and everybody else, you can have, cash out there 65, 70 days on average. And that's just one use of cash, right? Then you're talking about ISOs and counterparties and everything else. It's an extraordinarily capital intensive business that doesn't need to be that way. And customers like to get their bills on time, and they like to pay them on time. They don't want to, have an accounting treatment to, because, what happened? Well, I didn't pay the electric bill because we didn't get it, or whatever the case may be. And the whole thing of selling on credit, which is our model, is the utility industry standard, forever. And we just adopted it in our industry that we're going to extend that. And then bad debt, throw that in. It's probably my 5th largest line item cost is bad debt. And it just, higher prices, you're going to see more of it. It's just the reality of where we live in. And we have a lot of leverage to get paid. So if we're not getting paid, you got problems and other problems in the economy. But yes, I would say, not only the relationships in the customer choice markets, but trying to open up more rate-regulated, vertically integrated utilities to this exposure. From their shareholder perspective, they don't make any money. These are cost recovery activities, and they have hundreds of millions of dollars out there. They make money when they put capital to work and they get their regulator to improve the rate of return. And then they pass it on to their ratepayers. They don't have customers. Customers have choice. We deal with customers. They have ratepayers. Their customers, the PUC or whatever that approves their rate increase. And by the way, transmission distribution costs are gone through the roof and will continue to go through the roof. It is now a considerable, meaningful part of your electricity bill and will be going into the future. So it's not just energy, it's not just capacity, it's not just taxes. T&D, there's billions of dollars of investment that will need to be rated up, and billions more coming to operate in this data center environment we're in. So yeah, all that could happen. I don't know, you hear the utilities wanting to get back in to this space. They're certainly in it with, price compare rates, which are trailing, and in a increasing market, we used to have opportunities, with some volatility to come in and show some prices and get people extended in on good terms. That doesn't exist anymore.
How many more CEOs are saying they want to build more gen for the utility right now?
Oh, I think it's pretty universal.
Yeah, they didn't say it for years.
Yeah,
now everybody in their annual speech, we're going to build gen, we're going to build gen.
Right, well, tell me how well you did building T&D and that cost going through the roof, and you're going to come in and build power plants now, which, by the way, good luck. What year will that happen? Get in line.
And this just, for some people, just simplifying what we are talking about here, and I'll give you some numbers, simple numbers. So if you're in PSEG, you're paying $120 for all-in cost. You're paying $20 for capacity. You're paying $20 for nits. Just give you, this is $120 $20 plus for capacity, $20 for mix. And then you can get into ancillary recs and energy components. So the point that these guys are making, it's there, the cost is there. What are we doing about it? That's the question, right? I mean, I heard this comment from my colleague here. I've heard this comment many times, many years ago. What are we going to do about it? Well, we collectively have to think about this. Either go to regulators and talk about this, that what can we do? They're investing, last number I saw, IOUs investing $1.1 trillion in infrastructure from an EI data. So add some more. Let's think about this, right? As stakeholders, and back to my colleague's comment, we are in this business here, all of us, to make money too, and improve the system, and be customer-centric, and be able to provide quality service, and making sure that these clients can keep their budget. So, stop here.
Yep. All right, we'll move on here. Michael, so I know from last year when we were chatting, you've taken a strategy of acquisitions and looking for books to buy. That sort of implies that there's challenges in the sales channels and growing sort of organically. So why are you taking that as one of your primary drivers about how you're trying to grow?
Well, what we recognized about 2 years ago was those dinosaurs I mentioned that built their business on call centers and door to door. A lot of them are looking for exit plans. They still have customers. If we can acquire them at a reasonable cost, we should be able to provide them still some value as a customer, some savings. And so we looked at that as our acquisition. We acquired one which increased our revenue by about 8% without increasing our G&A almost at all. So that's a good strategy. What kind of got in the way is these capacity costs coming out in PJM and MISO. And the market got clouded all of a sudden with all these broker books. People wanted to sell that went out and got 3-year contracts on fixed price, broker owning the relationship, and going, hey, look at what we made last year. Let's make a multiple over this, and why don't you buy this from us? And they know these books are underwater. So we streamlined the process so we could get through them, make an offer or not make an offer. But right now we pursed out one. We're looking at a couple more we think has some promise. But that channel has been a little slower than I would want you because of capacity costs.
Yep. Joe, I'm curious your thoughts on the consolidation and the changes Michael was just talking about. How's that impacting the broker community?
Well, as a broker, we got to put that hat on of almost to a degree holding the customer's hand. When you're talking about consolidation that's going on, the customer gets that letter saying this is what's going to be happening to their contract and to their agreement. First off, it's a little scary for them. The whole issue gets a little bumpy. So we need to smooth things out. We basically hold their hand, help them through the process, be that basically the conduit between everybody to make sure that the process is smooth, everybody is happy, and the customer is protected.
All right, thanks, Joe. All right, we're going to move on to our final segment of questions here. So there was a JD Power survey that I saw that was residential satisfaction with electricity providers has fallen 4 years in a row. Biggest declines are in customer billing, payments, customer care. That's probably no surprise to most folks in the room. At the same time, customer expectations around digital experience, transparency, personalization are probably as high as they've ever been. People are using their Apple phones and working with Amazon every day and expecting that same level of digital experience from the suppliers that they're working with. So Joe, I'll come back to you first on this one. Brokers were probably historically just looking at price, right? That's the thing from 10 or 15 years ago. So given these new expectations, and they're not just on the residential side, on the C&I side as well, and how are brokers trying to help their customers see value beyond just price and meet the expectations I was just talking about?
Well, what we have to do is we have to explain to the customer that everything that's going on around us, that we need to embrace it. It's not negative things that are happening, it's all positive. The AI structure, the overall energy being used, everything that is happening around us on a daily basis, we need to help them become educated and comfortable with everything that's going on. See, in the past, all you had to do was basically knock on the door, make a phone call, and here's the price, and that's it. Well, we need to go back to old school. And old school is that we need to provide as much information as possible to the customers so that it's a long-term relationship. It used to be, for the last probably, I'd say 8 to 10 years that I can remember, there was a lot of what I call stepping on throats and taking names. You didn't care about, what that client was. Let's get that one, let's go to the next one, let's go to the next one. We can't do that anymore. We have to maintain that relationship. We don't build a relationship up, then somebody else is going to come into that footprint, come into that door, and take over that customer. We need to build the trust, and we need to build that overall understanding so that if a customer ever has a concern or a question at any time, they know they can reach out to us and get those answers. And if we don't have that answer, that we're going to be able to find an answer for them and get back to them.
All right, thanks, Joe. So Scott, to you. So on the supplier side, how are you evolving beyond just price competition through digital experiences, partnerships, integrated resources, et cetera?
Yeah, I would say our traditional IT spend was run and maintain forever. And then 2 years ago, we started investing in growth strategies that required basically a technology evolution or revolution, whatever you want to call it, transformation, which coincided obviously with the curiosity around what AI was going to bring, not only for the business and load, but how would you apply that into your business model? So that's been an ongoing efforting. It's very expensive. There's massive amount of cultural change management elements to make it happen. So it isn't something that happens overnight. But for the first time, we actually have a capital growth budget that is looking specifically how to leverage digital, agentic type of applications into the future. And by the way, there's a lot of people who want to sell you those applications. So they're out there, and we talk to them a lot. But I also think it's something that the business itself has to really understand and embrace if you're actually going to leverage it. It's not something that you can just completely outsource. But the point of it is the company sees that we need to go through a radical transformation. Many of the things that were mentioned here are foundational to making that happen. And we are investing, tens of millions of dollars and ultimately probably $100 million to become more agentic in what we're doing. And that includes, business process driven as well as business intelligence, anywhere from load forecasting, which we've talked about as a tremendous amount of risk and complexity into managing a retail book. Certainly one like ours with a lot of residential. Load following is a massive risk element that can make or break your year if you don't do it right. So there's opportunities there. Just everything about the customer. Our CRMs traditionally were populated with the bare minimal amount of data needed to produce a contract. Outside of that, no one, we're just typing away all day. And still are. We haven't changed the world or anything, but there's real opportunity to tap into intelligence and augment human intelligence. I don't see it replacing what we do every day. I don't see it replacing the human-to-human buying experience that we have today. I think there'll be augmentation on the buy side and there'll be augmentation on the sell side through this technology. And I think it'll evolve. It's not gonna, some of these doomsdayers that half the jobs go away tomorrow and things like that. I think they're just using scare tactics to kind of control how artificial intelligence is actually managed, not only in Western economies, but almost globally. So With that being said, it's the recognition and that we sold the idea that we need to invest heavily in this kind of generational technology transformation that we're having.
Yeah, absolutely. Andrew, similar question to you, just as a follow-on, you know, how are you approaching the strategy of these products or having multiple products that you're offering?
I think our expansion has been similar. So what we've done is we brought on what I would say, or for lack of a better term, solutions. So what's come on over the years has been, once again, bringing back demand response, bringing back sustainable products, etc. What we're looking at now are utility bill management products. We're looking at consulting on green products. We're looking at energy services. The reason that I hesitate is for this group, a lot of those things sound like things that have been around, but what's changed is the ability to actually integrate them finally into things that are at least more electronically based, more information based, dare I say AI based, app based, etc., so that the customer actually understands where the management of these tools plays into what we've been talking about today, which is actually, in some cases, lowering costs. In a lot of cases, large C&I still understand and want to be involved with what's still called risk management. It's an understanding of where they can take risks that they have in other parts of their business and the management techniques they have and still apply them to what's going on the energy side for both electric and gas. But really, it's employing whatever's next. We're even doing rebates. We've completely made that part of something that we're pushing out to customers, as opposed to customers finding them by accident or actually getting a call from a utility rep. So by employing rebates, employing sustainable products, employing energy management products, employing, once again, demand response, basically we're looking for ways to make the grid healthier than it has ever been before. Because we had said before, new generation is not going to get built fast enough for what it is that everybody's being scared about in the papers with regard to hyperscalers and everything else. I don't know if everybody understood the point being made earlier. What's happening is that when an ISO shows a grid or graph, I don't know, wherever you're sitting, that goes like this. So, you know, picture where you are, that goes like this. What nobody says is everybody has the same RFP from the same hyperscaler in their book. So no one asks the question, it says, wait, do you have the one from them in there also? And like, do you have, they just showed this. So is the growth going to be there? Yes. Is it going to be where that RFP is going to get fulfilled in every single load zone? Probably not. So with that said, we have a situation where we need more generation. The question is who's going to be managing the story? So we want to change the world. So when I got into this business almost 30 years ago, we were selling electricity, as Rich was saying before, to people. Like, we weren't utility reps, we weren't out there, you know, call the 1-800 number. We were out selling energy, giving people the ability to manage it. We're still doing that. But the tools that are available now are beyond anything that we had when this started. The question is how do you engage the customer to use them? How do you make it easy? And as was said before, how do you make it look like everything else they have? And listening to the Gen ABCD LMNOP that was here just before, the whole idea of why aren't we doing everything that's cool from before, the point was made, we'd love to, but you're still working within a system that doesn't necessarily have the same incentive to change and modernize. So in long answer to a short question, or the short answer is, it's taking some things that have been around and making them better, it's taking new things and making them more relevant, but it's trying to put everything into a more usable, recognizable, modern-looking package that allows people to actually see the result of what they're doing and get excited about it and want to do more.
Thanks, Andrew. All right, last question. I'll ask Kadir and Michael, both of you, this. So this is more of a leadership question, but as you look inside your company, we've talked about how you've been seeing the same systems, same processes, same ideas for a long time. How do you get your business, your teams to start experimenting, start thinking differently? How do you do that externally, where you're thinking about how to differentiate yourself amongst all the folks sitting up here that are in the same business? So, Kadir, I'll start with you.
So I think you guys heard me talk about customer-centric. So the way I look at it is being a gentler, we look at the customer from a boutique style perspective. We look at what they are looking for exactly from a product perspective. We can match them with our generation. If they're looking for sustainability product, renewables, it's all about asking the customer, especially from a C&I perspective, because we are dealing direct and with our broker channel partners. So we focus on a few things. One, we have to make sure what we are selling and what our contract states is transparent. There's no gimmicks. It's black and white. That's the key for us. Second is what we said on the contract, what the price was, how it was going to be calculated. It's exactly on the bill. And then we differentiate, and some of my colleagues, we all do that, we have broker channel partners. We make sure that the broker channel partner who has brought that customer to us, or if it's a direct customer, they're taken care of. They don't have any customer complaint from our retail entity, because we sold a different product, not just a vanilla fixed price product. It was, I have a customer, we have sold them our solar plant generation. They want to know what it was, where it's coming from. We had to come up with the details, make sure they understood what the load profile was, what we will get from our solar generator, if it deviated. So these are the things that we looked at to differentiate ourselves. Again, being transparent goes back to my old point. It takes systems. It cannot be done on spreadsheets. So we're trying to get the system folks to help us achieve that efficiency. So I'm gonna, this is how we think about it. And folks like you definitely help translate some of the needs that we have, the customer have, or how we can integrate different systems. So hopefully it's a long answer to your question, but you got the gist.
Thank you, Michael.
All right, you heard me talk about how management had to reinvest into doing something smarter to provide value to those customers. What we're doing is we're investing heavily into partnerships with demand response. So in the innovators panel, brilliant people, much smarter than I am at this, teaching customers how to control their load, how to use their Tesla Powerwall, sell back to the grid, all those things. My dad, I don't want to do those. I just want a lower power bill. Well, how can I provide a lower power bill to my customers? I have to be able to cover all my costs, my acquisition costs, but also my risk. And by investing into grid scale battery storage, I can help control my cost of goods and my risk. Where there's a weather event, I'm actually optimizing that physical asset to monetize that to offset some of those costs. And we are going heavily in partnerships into these grid scale battery storage projects. And you guys will see some announcements on that in the next few months.
Thanks, Michael. All right. Thank you, guys. That was a great session, and I think we're over time.
Thank you. Round of applause.